the strongest feeling I had there was this feeling, and when I say unconditional love, I mean, it's not the same. I know what unconditional love is here. I have children. I love them unconditionally. I know what that is. This was on a totally different level. This just I it doesn't exist here.
And so the love felt like I was the last newborn child to be born that's ever lived or ever will live again in the entire history of the universe, being hugged, loved, cradled, and cherished by every mother that had ever lived before that. Imagine what that must be like. You mothers in here know what that felt like when you held your first baby for the first time. Imagine on the scale I just told you, and then realize that is nowhere near good enough to explain what happened. It was trillions and trillions of times infinitely more special than that. And I had no idea that I was that loved. And I know it's the same for each and every one of you. That's the unconditional love that was flooding through me. And if a light, I know this, that God was a being of light, pure consciousness. I don't know how to explain it all. I was just there trying to understand the power of everything that was going on.
It's like I closed my eyes again and I opened them and I wasn't in the garden anymore. I wasn't back in my body, but I was in this light-filled, I call it a waiting room, but it didn't have walls or anything like that. It was just this almost no sensory, but like continuous, it's like a warm hug, this really warm, like God's energy.
And I'm going, who are you? And there was this pause. And then the answer came. And he said, I am Archangel Gabriel. And I just burst into tears. And like even now, talking about it, it was, I felt like I was in the presence of unconditional love. And I was being held.
That's when God showed up. And those golden clouds that were in front of me, that I was in, from the corner of my sight, bottom right-hand corner, it started getting brighter and brighter rapidly. And this intense white light just enveloped me, just came on like a rush, and enveloped me and made all the clouds disappear and go away. And then I was in white again. But this white was different. It was intense love, radiant love. And it pierced every part of my being. And it was like the most beautiful feeling of love and like embracement love. It was incredible. And I was like, wow. And at that point, that powerful love, I knew it was God. It had to be creator and God. And
started going towards a light. And that light was the most brilliant light, multiplied thousands of times stronger than what the sun was. And I was being pulled towards that. And I kept going and kept going and kept going. And the closer I got, the more intense the feeling of love that was possessing me. It was pushing in on me. It was almost suffocating me. It was so tight.
All of a sudden, I was in a different place. I was in the beautiful, beautiful light that is hard to even describe because we just don't have the words. You can't describe a sunset or a rainbow. We don't have the words to describe love. That was the kind of light that I saw, and it just embraced me, and it was so peaceful.
More a million times more. And I sometimes compare it to if you're lying on the beach in the sun and you can feel it all over your body, the warmth of it. But this was a kind of a metaphysical equivalent of just joy and happiness filling my entire being. And I began to sense that I was being held by a parent figure, like a baby. I was being held like that. And the parent was pouring in, "You are so loved, you are so loved."
It almost felt as if everything went away and then I became part of everything. I was part of that. I was part of everything out there. My son had melded into me. I had melded into what I call God, and we literally became one. And then just all this knowledge, truth, comprehension, everything came flowing through me in a way where it was very, very intimate. It was very, very personal. I didn't see the future. I didn't see, the creation of the world. What I experienced was my life and what had happened in my life.
There was absolutely no fear or apprehension from the moment I popped out of my body, going down the tunnel into the sphere and then into the light again. There was a feeling of overwhelming, unconditional love. I felt so loved by everything and everyone that I've struggled for over 50 years now trying to find the right words in the English language to explain the level and depth of love that I was consumed with. And there are none. It's not like, oh, it was really a great feeling of love or a lesser feeling of love. There are no adjectives to describe the unconditional love that I felt because it was all encompassing. My vibrations, my body vibrations, my soul vibrations, the Andy vibrations blended in with the unconditional love and the light, and we became one.
Farther away from me was a pinprick of light. And this pinprick of light, I somehow recognized, but I didn't know how. And as it got closer, or did it get bigger? I'm not sure. Let's say that it got closer. It paralleled an understanding that was washing over me, or it was almost like, I refer to it now as the release of this earthly amnesia that we have, where we don't remember what life and existence was before Earth. And all of that was starting to fall away as it got closer. And as it got closer, it resonated this beyond love, beyond compassion. I sometimes compare it to a grandfatherly love. Just, there was nothing I could have done wrong. It was just all loving, all loving. And I realized that that I had a choice to be assimilated by that. But I stayed back somewhat, and I don't want to say that it talked to me. It's almost like it was a download of information.
It was just this overwhelming, unconditional love that it's so overwhelming that you can't really, I don't even know what to compare it to, because the love is so submerging on all, like every cell in your body level. It's like you are love. It's like you're part of it. We are love. We've just forgotten.
This other light enveloped me. Near-death experiences later. I didn't know anything about near-death experiences at the time. But when they started talking about the light, I started crying, because, oh my God, other people have experienced this light. Everything disappeared. It was like I had no body and no, there was a separation, there was a sense of self in it. But I felt like I was in a warm bath of love. Pure, unconditional love. And it was warm, it was welcoming. All my worries, all my fears, all my stress were gone.
But what I was my raw essence there. It was beyond what we assume is our mind even. But I was still myself. I still had my history. I still had my my personality. And it was, when you, not only did I not have a body, my own identity was stripped from me at that point.
Was full of love, and yet I was more and more attracted to what I perceived to be the center of this sea of light. It was as if in the center of this sea there was a sun, and my heart was just irresistibly attracted to that. And again, in an instant, with a tremendous clash, not clash, but in a tremendous and magnificent instant, I entered this center of the sea of light, this sun in the sea, the light, the heart of the light. And it was as if I were devastated. It was as if I were, just spider silk in the solar wind. I was completely devastated by bliss and by rapture and by ecstasy. And yet I was not. I was simply in of, and because of that light, and yet I was, as an individual, destroyed. It was as if I were the quintessential phoenix.
I did become aware of a point of white light, intense, brilliant, gajillion times brighter than the sun. A little point of white light, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was alive. It was like breathing. And somehow I knew I had to go there. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew I had to go there. And remember, I didn't know that I had died. I didn't remember the accident, and I still was trying to figure out what was happening. But I knew I had to go toward the light. And as I approached the light, it got bigger and more intense and more beautiful and more loving. And it sucked me in and absorbed me. And I became the light, and the light became me. I was the white light.
There was no judgment of any kind, only acceptance and incredible, expanding, embracing love. Everything that a moment before I had thought was important, necessary to the point of being stressed, to the breaking point, was gone, was absolutely meaningless. I remembered all of this incredible love and being surrounded by it. I felt not only embraced by these souls, but that I was home and I was being welcomed back. I felt incredibly blessed and incredibly loved. I felt free for the first time in anything that I could actually remember. I felt that I was free. And there was no hierarchy. There was only love, only wisdom, only kindness. And they filled me with this feeling until all of the memories that I had of crossing over and all of the pain was loved out of me. It's an incredible experience.
Felt like I was in this void or in outer space. It didn't feel scary, but it was black. Then I immediately felt myself go into the tunnel. And it was very black, very dark in the tunnel. I wasn't scared at all. I was moving very fast. It was exciting and it felt exhilarating. The tunnel ride was very quick, and I popped right out of the tunnel and I was immediately in the white light. The light was so bright and beautiful and powerful that it took me a minute to adjust and understand what was going on there too. As soon as I started to settle into it, I understood that it was heaven. I started to feel the light more and feel the energy. I immediately felt this overwhelming sense of unconditional love. Love like I have never felt before. No matter what I had been through in my life, no matter what I had done, it was just complete love for me. I was bathing in it. It was wrapped around me. And so while I was a part of it, I really sensed that separation being healed as well. I knew that I was dead. I knew that my physical body was no longer working and that I was no longer a part of it. And I was fine with it. It didn't scare me. It just felt like this is how it's meant to be. And it almost started feeling like my life was becoming a distant memory.